Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us. Very quickly, I wanted to introduce Leslie. She's a friend and one of our clients here at 7 Scout. So I'm Lynn Yeldell, and you all have a huge privilege today to talk to Leslie Harrell, the founder of Blitz Concessions, and also a fellow mom like yourselves. And so I think kind of without any ado, let's get in here and start talking about why did you want to set up a concession stand management platform?
Well, I got voluntold. I got voluntold that I was going to be the concessions person for my kids' school, and I was like, okay, sure, I can do this. I had business experience and everything, so I said, oh, sure, I can do this. Well, you got into it, and as most of you know who've ever done it or venturing into it, you realize that, it's a lot of work. And so there's a lot of pieces and parts to it. And then I had worked for a convenience store chain years ago and had some experience in inventory management. I had some business experience. I'm a parent. I'm one of the 10% of the volunteers that do 90% of the work. And so you always realize that everybody's got kids, lives, families, and usually other jobs. And so this needs to be as well done as possible. And I saw that it wasn't really being done as well as it could be.
And, my truth and disclosure, I love working with Blitz Concessions, but I don't have the experience that you have. I've never worked in a concession stand.
We're going to get her out there this year.
Yeah. Oh, I have a feeling I have a lot of concession stands in my future.
Yes, you do.
And so for most of everyone out there has already done a concession stand, but for those of us who have not, I've heard about binders and cash drawers and volunteer management and so forth. And so thankfully today, you're going to walk us through some of your top 5 tips for setting up a concession stand for people like yourself, right, that have done this before. And then also for someone like me that might be listening in and having to do this for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's overwhelming. I mean, I think you think it's a good idea. I mean, you get told to do it and then you think it's going to be organized. And I think what you find when you get in is some people, I was very lucky because the woman who helped me was really organized and had a lot of stuff together, but it was in a binder and it was a bunch of stuff that had pin marks through it and scribbles out and notes next to it and all of those things. And so we kind of, you kind of say, okay, this is just a very, even in the modern world where you're using Google Sheets, Google Forms, and you're doing shared documents, there's a lot to be said for just being able to put all of it in one place and feel confident that it's there and that it's ready to use.
Yeah, super. Well, so I guess without any ado, let's hop on up here and let's talk about your top 5 for setting up your concession stand.
Yeah, I think that being organized is the key, obviously, which everybody who does stuff knows that. But I think organization in specifics to concessions is get into your concession stands and clean them. I mean,
okay, so here, real quick though, just to slow you down, let's talk about these top 5.
Yeah, right.
So you're going to organize, you're going to
inventory in terms of your ordering and everything.
Got it.
And then marketing it, which means, let people know what you have at your concession stand. Organize your volunteers, get a couple of key people that are really going to be in there for you. Kind of your right-hand people. And then inventory in terms of restocking, like how do you reorder and how do you do it efficiently? Is I think a really big key to making it successful. I mean, I think one key thing to remember as you have inventory in your stand is that everything that you have in your stand is cash. If you sell through it, then that's money you have. If it's sitting in your stand, you're not making money on that. You're spending your money that you could be spending on fundraising, buying something you need for your program or whatever. So you really want to get to the point on your concession stand. I mean, the ideal concession stand is that you end up after a game with one of everything.
Got it.
That's your best stand. You didn't run out of anything, so you didn't miss any sales, but you didn't end up with a bunch of stuff left over. So I think that's a key.
Like $500 in inventory, you could have just written to your kids' coach and then done.
Exactly. Yeah. So you want to do it well, and I think that's a key to just do it well. Would be, just make sure you're managing it properly. And so I think that's really the key to success. And just putting all that stuff in place before the season gets started is going to be really helpful.
Well, let's talk about getting everything in place. So your first thing you talk about is getting organized, right?
Yes.
So what is getting organized here?
I would say, I mean, as you see here, I mean, one of the big things is gather all the information from anybody who's helped in prior years. I mean, sometimes you have to sift through some of the drama that might go on and might have people might have bad taste in their mouth about something that happened.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you get the binders. You want to make sure that you know your vendors, that you know, just that you get as much information, whether it's verbal or in the form of the handbook, that you get it and that you have it available to you. And that those people, that you tap into those people who may not be working it anymore, they may have left, or they may still be at the campus or have helped some. Find the people who have helped, because even if they're not doing it at the top level, they're in it and they can at least give you advice. I mean, when I started doing it, I literally came in with no preconceived notion, and I was amazed at the amount of information that if you found the right person, they'd be like, oh yeah, well, we've always gone over here and gotten this, and you know, the maintenance will come bring you ice and just stuff like that, in terms of just like ask a lot of questions of your people.
Yeah, and the binders, and I think you'll probably get to this later on, maybe if people can set up a demo, but Blitz Concessions really, there's no more binders anymore, right?
Yeah.
Everything can be stored. And so there's not one place for all this information to be organized. It can be distributed across everybody, and you can be on vacation or with your kids or at camp and be able to log into.
That's one really big piece that is sort of an extra bonus that came out of the development side. I mean, it kind of was in my brain, but I think one thing that got developed really well was the document retention piece of it, which is you can put everything in there, from your health department information to your tax-free forms to instructions on how to use the popcorn machine, and have that available to anybody's fingertips through their phone to be able to look up a document, a manual, you know, a link to a manual for your coffee machine or whatever. So yeah, so kind of getting rid of all the paper and being able to settle in and be able to have it all in one place, I think is just a really, I mean, that's one feature that we did. And I think it's just, there's so much. I still have binders sitting at my house that I've got to pass on to the next person, you know, for the person who's doing it the next year. And, you know, it just gets to be very cluttered. And so this allows you to kind of keep it clean and keep it manageable and keep it usable.
Perfect. All right. So we've got the last year's information, cleaning up your space, your equipment.
I just think, I mean, you know, purging, I mean, don't keep stuff that you don't need. I mean, if you've got, you know, foil that you got for something and it's just not something you're ever going to use again, get rid of it. Make it clean, make it well marked. You know, most concession stands are kind of outside, so they're tending to get bugs, and, you know, you got to be very careful about how you store stuff. So make sure you have plastic containers and they're well marked with pens, pencils, scissors, you know, all the, you know, utensils, just anything, and just make sure you organize it and put it in an easy to get spot. Make sure you, I mean, the other thing on it, make sure your equipment works. I mean, go through and check your freezers, your refrigerators. I mean, a lot of you have refrigerators that are given to you by Coca-Cola or whoever and to put the drinks in. But if you have any maintenance that needs to be done, get on the list and get them out there and get it fixed, because you certainly don't want to be stocking something that is, you know, and it goes and it doesn't, you know, like they're chocolate, like it's the refrigerator's not working and the chocolate melts. I mean, you just don't want that. And coffee makers and popcorn machines. Make sure it's all cleaned and make sure it works, because there's nothing more frustrating than starting your season and being excited and thinking that you have all these great things to sell, and then you don't, and you don't have it. And then from that, you should come up with a pretty good list of things you need to get. Again, don't overbuy stuff. I mean, you know, part of the concession stand burden really is the fact that you need to, you do have to go to the store every week, or order every week. So you're doing that anyway. So don't overbuy supplies and stuff. Just keep it stocked and have a rhythm to that. And then make sure that you've taken the time. I said signage on here, but part of the signage thing is like price sheets, or, you know, signage can be limited, can be not eliminated, but might be minimized by using Blitz Concessions platform, because you could have so many of those documents in your system that people could have. But there are signage things like your pricing. You know, just make sure all that's cleaned and accurate. Make sure you check your cost of the inventory you're bringing in, and make sure you're still making what you think you're supposed to be making. You know, prices go up. Gas price, you know, it's like we've all seen the increases in costs and stuff. And I think a lot of people say, I've always sold this for $2. We're always going to sell it for $2. and suddenly you're not making any money doing it. And so I think that's a really important part of what you're doing as well.
Tracking all of that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, well, let's hop on into the next tip, which is making sure your inventory, right? So this is the beginning of it.
Yeah.
How do you get your inventory into your stand? And here we are, we're at the last day in July. Football season is probably your main concession stand sport, right? It's just right around the corner.
You probably purged, I mean, if you had, because most stuff was going to go out of date before your first game in August. And you're talking about football. Most stuff was going to go out of date. And so you've probably minimized, or you're down to the bare minimum of what you're doing. So now's the time that you really, again, look at your supplies, look at your utensils, and really start getting creative about what your stand can hold. You know, it's always high risk to go buy stuff that you don't know will sell. And, you know, Blitz Concession has an ability on the platform to allow you to pre-sell those items so that you guarantee that you're going to sell, that they're already sold. So that's a super helpful thing. But you can also start getting your history. I mean, Blitz Concessions allows you to create a history of kind of the purchase behavior of your fans. And so you can really start getting to that one of everything inventory at the end of the night, which is just a matter of getting these reports and looking at them and starting to do that. And here, you know, you say know your vendors. And when you're doing your food, just make sure you have a good relationship with your vendors. If you have vendors that are delivering to you, for example, Coca-Cola in most cases I think delivers, you know what you got to do, know what dates you got to order. You know, like sometimes you have to order on the prior Thursday for the next Friday. Just know your dates, know the amounts, negotiate your costs, because, you know, don't always assume that what Coca-Cola is offering you for a cost on their 20-ounce sodas is the be-all and end-all. It can certainly be negotiated, and, you know, they may ask you for something in return, but I think a lot of that may be, I mean, they're not going to ask you for anything outrageous, but then if they guarantee you a price, then make sure every time you check the receipt that you're actually getting the price that they guarantee, and get it in writing. But there's a lot of that. Whoever you're doing business with, a lot of people use a wholesaler to get their, you know, their chips and their candies. And just make sure that you're just diligent about looking at that when you're ordering, and make sure that the prices are what you think that they should have been. Don't just assume they're going to stay the same.
And going back to that pre-ordering, I always wondered, you know, it seems like you go to every concession stand, no matter where you are in the country, and it kind of has that same hamburger, hot dog, chips, soda, which I love. I'm not complaining about it all, but a lot of people are getting a little bit more sensitive about providing healthy snacks, right? Even at this high school level. And that pre-order part, you know, I asked you early on, like, why don't you sell salads, and why don't you sell things that are a little bit healthier? And you told me, and it makes so much sense, I can't have something in my concession stand that only lasts one night. I have to know, and I have to order it. And I think that's so smart to be able to say, I've pre-sold these 100 salads that I picked up on the way in. And that way you're guaranteeing that you're giving the right meals to people and what they're learning to expect, and letting them order, you know, from their device before the game even, you know, the day before the game.
And it tends to be, healthier food tends to be more expensive. I mean, so you want to get, I mean, here's the bottom line in any sports event. People are going to eat before or during or after. I mean, you know, if you've got a football game or a basketball game or volleyball game, soccer game, whatever it is, a theater production, if you have anything, everybody's eating at night. And they're usually bringing kids and families, and they're running from work to get there. And so a lot of people don't want, you know, you don't want the nachos with the cheese and all that. You want something healthier. And so the problem that concessionaires run into is just a simple fact that, well, we can't go out and buy these salads, and A, they don't last very long, but B, we need to guarantee that we sell them. They're too expensive to waste. It's too big of an inventory item. And they, as you said, they don't hold over. So the greatest part that Blitz Concession kind of offers you is the ability to pre-sell any of those healthier options, offer a wider variety on your menu, and then be able to guarantee, you know, people are going to guarantee they bought them. If they ordered on their phone, they bought them. And so I find that that's a simple way that we've provided with Blitz Concession to up your, you're going to up your sales by 20% just by offering these people the ability to buy something that they actually want, and they know what they're getting when they're coming to the stadium. And they can still order your hamburgers, your hot dogs, but for some people who are either dietary sensitive or whatever, you can offer them more.
And with multi-generational people, so you've got the kids, the parents, and the grandparents that are coming to the game. Blitz Concessions allows you to go out on a Wednesday and say, here's what we're serving on Friday night. Do you want salads, hamburgers, hot dogs, chips, everything?
Yeah.
Because you were talking about people eat before the game, during the game, or after the game. Some of us eat all three of those, right?
Yes.
Depending on who's with us.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was so smart. Wednesday, you running your concession stand gets to offer everything that's up for sale. Thursday, the client gets to log in and says, this is what I want for dinner. Friday night, they roll up into the concession stand, walk up to the pickup line, and just divvy out all the meals and go straight to the stands. I just think that's.
Yeah, no, I think it should be a really great way to increase your sales. I mean, it's your fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a concession stand that I know of that's not generating money that benefits a youth program in some ways. I've talked to people, some of it's their junior class, their senior class, some of it's their football team, their band. I mean, a lot of the band does it.
Yeah.
And you're running in your given school, you're probably running 200 concession stands a year.
Good grief.
I mean, to some degree, you're running them for, track meets, for cross country meets, for theater, for debate. If you're hosting anything at your campus, and and here's another way for teams that are coming from different things is that, here's another way you're making money. You can offer the coaches a menu that they offer to their players. Everybody gets online and they buy it, and then you're making that money. They're going to get food somewhere. You might as well make the $1 per meal or the $2 per meal, and get them a meal, and then it goes towards your fundraising efforts. And I think it's just and plus everybody, especially if you promote it well from a marketing standpoint, which we talk about later, from a marketing standpoint, if you're promoting that you're doing this to raise money for your band, everybody's like, well, I'm eating anyway. Yeah. So of course I'm going to go support the band or the junior class or project graduation or whatever the case may be.
Makes sense. All right. So we've got number 2. That's our inventory ordering, talking about marketing.
Oh yeah. I think it's so important. If you don't feel like that you're comfortable reaching out to partners in your community, that can be someone you can find a volunteer position for. You could be doing all this grunt work, but really your best bet is to go out and find somebody who will donate food at a discount. Or, I have one client who, they're like, we have a barbecue store that has they have a player on the football team. And so they donate, I don't know what it is, several pounds of meat every single week. Well, then, they only have the cost of their buns and their foil in the thing. And so they're making, if they sell it for $7 or $8, they're making $7.50, and that's a huge amount. So, find your sponsors, find people that are able and willing to support the program. And, a lot of times that turns into advertising, it turns in that they want advertising benefit, and Blitz Concessions allows you to do that as well, because as you set up events, you have a slot on there for your image. Now you could put it as your opposing teams. You could make a cute graphic with your opposing teams, but you could also slide in a local sponsor and they pay for their spot. And so that's another way you're making money. So, you create partners and sponsorships and partners of people to help you get stuff done, email marketing. Don't lose the opportunity to tell the other team, to tell the other fans, that you have this food and that you're going to have this really great concession stand, and Blitz lets you do that as well. It allows you to link to your event by email and send it out to the opposing team, and you can put it on your Facebook page and all that kind of stuff. And you can, you can turn around and you can market, get your market larger. And again, signage. Just make sure that when people come to the game that they know what a great menu you have. Create the great menu. Do it ahead of time, but then promote it and let people know that you're going to have a good food selection every week when they come to an event at your campus, regardless of whether it's football or any other sport. We're talking about football because it's coming up, but I think it's just any sport or any activity. Like I said, theater's a huge one. I mean, you know, you have that 15-minute intermission in there, pre-sell food and let people eat, because they're coming to a 7 o'clock show. They're not getting out till 10. They came from work. It took them a while to get there. You know, they're hungry. So by your intermission, they want food. Well, it's your fundraiser. Give them something they want. I mean, give them the cute baked goods. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But also give them something substantial so that they are, because they're going to eat. You know?
And the pre-sale option, we're not advocating against snacks and cookies and candies or
No.
anything, because those are still our favorite. You just get to do a yes and.
Yeah, it's just an upping. It's upping
Yeah.
the amount of money you can make. It's just increasing what you're able to do.
Super. All right, let's move on to the next one. Your volunteers. Thank
Yes.
goodness for Can you imagine if you had to pay these people their hourly rate for
Yeah.
having your stands?
Like I always say my hourly rate is $50 an hour just to kind of, you know, make myself feel better. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's very true. And I think what you see here is the reaching out early. And I think it's like, don't eat the elephant too. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
like figure out all the different tasks that people can do to help you with the concession stand and give everybody a little piece to eat, not just this ginormous thing. I mean, you're taking on the overseeing role, but find people and find them by their skill set.
Got it.
I mean, if you have someone who's in the car all the time and they're running anyway, let them be the person who, you know, is running to pick up the meals that you've gotten on pre-order. Or, and that's where I say find leaders. Just, you know, find leaders to do little things. Like this concession stand I was working on, I was like, I kind of said, you know, we need somebody, you know, you have your head, but you need somebody who's going to be in charge of, you know, inventory ordering. You need somebody who's going to be in charge of coordinating volunteers. I mean, if you're using Sign Up Genius or some other format to recruit your volunteers, a lot of people work from home or they're very computer savvy and they're willing to just do your sign up. I mean, if they can just do the events that are involved and just do your sign up and just manage the volunteer side of it, and just, you know, either get them and just keep them in track, that's a huge piece of it. And then, and the inventory, and then we had a situation where we had some cash management issues. Like, I don't, you know, it depends, you know, getting the cash to the stand, because obviously most people are not leaving their cash in their stand every single night. So there is a little bit of that running, that coordinating of going and getting cash and then getting it to the stand and having it ready to go safely and securely and all that. So, you know, that's a little job for a lot of people to just say, hey, you know, you find somebody that you trust and you say, hey, can you run to the bank and get, this is how we want the cash, and just, you know, but that's just, you know, don't burden yourself as the head of it to do everything under your watch. Just find people. And that's why I say keep tasks small. I mean, there's a lot of little things that people can do to help make it run smoother.
Yeah. I just saw somebody chat in about cash. With Blitz concessions, you can take cash, but you can also now take credit cards as well. Okay.
Anybody who orders from the device, whether they're ordering on the way to the game, whether they're ordering at the game, whether they pre-sell, you know, pre-buy something, all of that is going to be credit card based. So the great part about that is you're taking away a ton of people from your window, because they're, you know, you kind of take that rush, the craziness that's always at the window. You can take that away. And then you also minimize cash going missing. I mean, some of these concession stands that we're talking to are doing $15,000 to $20,000 every Friday night. And, you know, if you're doing that in large amounts of cash, you can guarantee that maybe some of that's not maybe staying in the drawer.
Yeah, and best of intentions, right? Things get really crazy. And also, we're talking about food, but it's really anything that you can sell can be put on the platform, whether they're spirit-based stuff like a t-shirt.
You can do spirit wear. I mean, we've talked to some people who have not related to a game specifically, but do like drive-through suppers as a fundraiser. So it's almost like it extends beyond that, because it can be anything that you're doing as a fundraiser that you're selling tickets for that allows you to do it. So that's another benefit for you.
Super. All right, so the fifth one we're going to talk about, back to inventory. So we've got we get it in the
It's all about inventory.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, you've stocked up your inventory, you got you're all organized, you've got your volunteers, but you've had a game, right? Or you've had several games, or performances, or drive-through suppers. What are some of your best practices for restocking that?
Well, and this is where my convenience store experience really comes in. I mean, I was a management, you know, I was negotiating with the Coca-Colas and all that. I wasn't at the store level, But I mean, one thing that you learn in doing that is how important how you display the items. I mean, how you display the items. I mean, when I started working the concession stand at our school, they were literally buying those giant boxes of chips and they were just throwing them on the shelves and they weren't taking them out. And I'm like, well, you're not going to sell them as well if you don't take them out and display them. So, taking them out and displaying everything and making it sort of like you would fan your cards. I mean, show everything that you have so that people can see what the options are. We've talked to people who like to minimize what they put in their concession stand because they just don't want to make it confusing. I think some of that over time, if you use Blitz concessions, you're going to have these inventory numbers and you're going to be able to see what sells. So I think you can really fine tune like what you're carrying to maximize what you're selling. But I think, that's important is just having the stuff there and having it displayed properly and pretty. I mean, there's those chip clips, there's metal wire things that you can buy. We bought a bunch of baskets. It made it easy for us as we have some events that we use our main stand for, but then a lot we take like a cart out. And so we went and bought some simple baskets but we were able to display everything and the chocolates are in one basket and kind of keep everything pretty. I mean, people want to buy stuff. They don't want to dig through a basket, dig through a bin and, pick out chips. I mean, they look like they've been there for 100 years. You just put them in there the other day. And then I think something that's really important because as you work these, a very good convenience store term is called FIFO, first in, first out. So as you stock your sodas, your waters, just make sure that every once in a while, you move all the stuff that's kind of older to the front and be stocking from the back. Whether you shift everything over to a different holder and put the other stuff behind it, but it's really important to do that. I mean, I've told you the story about we had somebody got crazy and they've never wanted to order Red Powerade again. And, they ordered, I don't know how many cases, but in the end, we ended up having to throw away 5 cases of Red Powerade that had gone out of date. I mean, that's just money down the drain. And so it's very important that you keep it the first in, first out, that you buy according to what you need. And that goes into the next thing about weather conditions and importance of the event. I mean, if you've got a homecoming game, you need to up it by 20%. Now, again, with Blitz concessions, year over year, what it's going to give you is it's going to say the last time you had your homecoming game, these were the numbers that you had. So you can kind of count on the next time you have a homecoming game, you're going to be up, you're going to up 20%. And of course, we're in the fall with football specifically. Your indoor sports and indoor events obviously aren't so much a victim to weather. But, in the fall, you go from blazing hot where you're going through 50 cases of water an hour to all of a sudden you're shifting to, oh my gosh, it's 40 degrees and we want hot chocolate. So you just have to be aware of that every week. As you plan to order, look ahead to what's coming up in terms of weather and know the importance of the event that's coming up. I mean, if you are a novice to it and you haven't been through it and you're really oblivious to who's a big rival, make sure you're talking to the coaches or talking to people that know, and make sure you're on task to, again, you don't want to be out of anything.
It makes me think about that Friday night lights. I mean, for some of these concession stands, this is the only thing that's happening in town. And knowing what your competition is for eating and entertainment and everything. So, all right. So that was kind of our top 5 going through. And one of the things that I was really happy we actually have one with us, you're available if somebody wanted to sit down and say, okay, that's great, because we kind of went through theater and drive-through dinners and all different baseball, basketball, football. If somebody has a question, you said that you'll make yourself available to chat one-on-one for someone's specific stuff. So, and in fact, over to the right, I think it's a great example. That's a quick little snapshot of what the platform looks like, the opportunity for, as you said, an image that provides sponsorship, showing that at an event you can have 3 stands, 1 document in there, text messages going back and forth, how many orders have you taken, what are the reports, right, that you can do, and then logging, who that's signed up, volunteer, admin, and so forth. How are they going in and out of the system? Because it leaves a paper trail that we don't have.
Yeah, you
right
have a
now.
really good log sheet. And really what we tried to do with the Blitz platform is, we keep it, it's definitely the KISS method. It's to keep it simple, stupid. Not that people are stupid, but that's just the phrase, so I'm sticking with it. But I think what you find is that we realized very early on with all of our research that, and we know this, I know this, is that volunteers are in and out, they're not consistent, they're not working every Friday night. And so the interface for our volunteers needs to be very, very simple. But yet, I found it really important that for Blitz Concessions to maximize the benefits to our customers is that they have inventory management. And so that being said, is there's a very simple POS piece that's built in that allows the volunteers to log in from their phone, or if you have iPads in your concession stand already, it allows them to log in however they're comfortable. If they're more comfortable with their phone, then log in from your phone. But yes, using all of these features that you see on the screen allows people to use that, easier. And, the interface is just designed to be as easy as possible.
I can use it.
Yeah.
And another thing I like is, I just don't think to have cash. And I know that a lot of people going out to football games and theaters and so forth, you become conditioned, but I think there's a lot of folks that are just like, I just didn't get by an ATM. And I like that this platform that you thought about it, that I don't have to have cash with me, but I also don't have to give my credit card to someone, right?
Yes.
Because so Blitz doesn't store the credit cards. It doesn't store it on the app. It's passed back and forth. I think they call it a token or something. But so that you can use your credit card in processing. And I order more when you let me put it on because it's fun. Just check boxes. And it seems like it's
your
fun
kids
money.
will go crazy.
Yeah. But I think that's just so smart because I don't know if I'd feel comfortable walking into a theater or a school I'd never been before and just saying, sure, run my credit card, right?
Yeah,
and so it's all done right there. So
yeah.
So anyway, we also have for a limited time only, which I thought these were so cool. Let me see if I can put those up there. They're Yetis. They're the real Yetis. Like, so a Yeti right there. And they're etched with the Blitz Concessions logo. Yep. And so if for the first people, because this is us getting started, first people who want to do a demo, if they set up a demo with you, we'll ship one of these out to you, or even if they're close to us, be able to do a demo one-on-one with you and your team, which I think is super fun. So make sure to go to the Blitz Concessions website and look for the requested demo. Also, you're very kind to put your phone number and your email up here. So it's leslie@blitzconcessions.com or 1-800-961-6155. They can call and ask you questions.
And the demo takes about 30 minutes. I mean, I've done several of them, and pretty consistently they come in at 30 minutes. And it does allow for you to ask questions about the platform and look at, take a really good look at what we're offering with it. And, my goal is really to keep the barrier to entry really low for schools because, in my opinion, this is your fundraiser. I want you guys to make the most money possible. So that's the reason we've inserted ways that you can get sponsors and such to offset the cost. But I also believe using Blitz Concessions, you're going to increase your revenue to your stand and you're going to be better at it. And you don't have to worry about the person that you pass the responsibility on to in the future. They're going to have a lot of really valuable tools left to them by virtue of the fact that you've used Blitz Concessions and that you've created a great internal notebook for your stand.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening in today. Thanks for the great questions. And we're going to sign off now, but be sure to check out blitzconcessions.com. And if you have
follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Follow us on Facebook.
They're doing a really good job.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yes. And our company's doing a great job on all that. And so they put together a lot of really good information about concession stands.
Well, that was quite sweet and kind. And thank you for the
shout out.
The shout out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye, guys.